Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Politics Today, and in this programme today we will be interviewing a remarkable young woman who was sacked from a school for posting pro-Christian social media content online, and we'll also be discussing the legal ramifications regarding her case. Her name is Gozen, and she is a Christian social media influencer. So Gozen, warm welcome to Politics Today, and I'm also joined by Rebecca Bunstead, who is the Central Manager at the Christian Legal Centre and also part of Christian Concern. So thank you for the programme. Gozen, it's so good to have you on the programme as a social media influencer. Share a little bit of your story of how you were sacked from a Catholic school because you posted pro-Christian content on your social media platforms.
First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And so it started with God giving me something to talk about. 2014, I was out of a long-term relationship. 2015, he dropped in my spirit, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and receives favour from the Lord. So that being said, you're not found as a woman, you're not found as a girlfriend, you're found as a wife. And then he took me on this journey to see the characteristics of wife, and Wife in the Waiting, the ministry page, was created. So that started way back 2015, 16, and I've been doing this for years. And then fast forward to 2019, I transitioned from law to education, because I just felt that instead of fighting for people when they needed the law, how about we direct them in the path that they should go? So in doing that, I transitioned into education and then got headhunted into a school, a Catholic school, which I believed shared the same values as me. And it turned out that they didn't appreciate the social media side of what I'd been doing before they'd even headhunted me, asked me to work at the school.
Excellent. And Rebecca, it's a pleasure to have you on. And can I say on behalf of our viewers, thank you so much for the excellent work you do at the Christian Legal Centre, because without you defending Gozen and all the other Christians who've been persecuted for their faith, the church and Christianity in this country would be in a real mess. So thank you for your dedication. But can you share with us how you came to faith in Jesus Christ, and where did your passion for law start from?
Oh, thank you, Simon. Well, I was privileged to be brought up in a Christian home, taken to church from the very earliest age, and my dad was a lay reader in the Church of England. And although I think as a child I knew Jesus, I didn't really understand what it meant to be a Christian as an adult and adopt faith for myself until really quite a bit later. I think there were phases in my life, but I think really I'd trace it back to after I'd finished university, in fact, when I was at bar school. But by then I'd already decided to study law. And so I do believe that the Lord called me into it. But I didn't really understand the importance, I suppose, of the law as a Christian and what it meant to be a Christian lawyer then. I was just interested in being in court. My mum was actually a social worker, and she would sometimes be all dressed up, ready to go somewhere, and it was court when there was an adoption case, and that was always very exciting. And I thought, what's this about? And I love the fact that it's so logical. And I love words, I love writing, and so law suited me. So I think the Lord led me into it without me directly realising that. But then, as I say, after I left university, I was at bar school, and in fact I met Andrea, who is the CEO of Christian Concern and Christian Legal Centre. So she was quite influential on me even way back then when I was in my early 20s. She came into the Christian Union, invited me to her church, and then I started engaging with the Bible properly, teaching it, learning how to teach it, and finding that the knowledge that I had in my head really sort of became real to me in faith. So yes, that's really where, that's when I started living as a Christian as an adult.
Excellent. And can you share with our viewers the role of the Christian Legal Centre and how this is so important to use and deploy law in order to defend our Christian values in this country, particularly when Christians like Gozen are under attack for their faith and end up being that horrible situation where they are sacked because of their Christian beliefs?
Yes, so this is happening increasingly. Our viewers will be very well aware that really society is moving in a direction which is really towards, we really have adopted a form of paganism now. And we are flaunting really kind of a lack of atheism in the way that we behave in public. And also we've adopted ideas of inclusion and the idea that you can really create yourself. We have an idol really of selves. And all of this is contrary to Christian values, and the way that society is moving, it does mean that for Christians, if we're brave and we speak out for faith and we believe that it really matters, then we may get ourselves into trouble. So inclusion is everything except for where you believe in something which you believe is actually revealed truth. So our clients come to us because they're in difficulty. We mainly operate as a shield rather than a sword. So by that I mean people are in trouble, so that's what happened with Gozen. They get in touch with us, they say this has happened. Quite often they're being disciplined at work. That is probably the most common situation that we have. And then we can help them. So we will say to them, you need to stand. You must go with your conscience and stand and not be afraid. And then we will help them and to do whatever they need to do.
Excellent. And Gozen, just explain to our viewers what you do as a Christian social media influencer, particularly your Instagram account that's called Lady Goshen. Just describe how important it is for you to influence young Christian women on biblical virtues.
So I have Lady Gozen and Wife in the Waiting. They're separate now, but at one point they were together. And what I do there is I empower, inspire people to live a life of purpose. The premise of Wife in the Waiting is to heal, know your worth and value is in God, not a relationship, not a man, for those desiring marriage. And then also to walk in purpose, because I have this premise that if you're walking in your purpose, you'll find and align with the person that's for you. I share truth about marriage in the sense of it's not easy, that there is a character for a wife, for a husband. And I put this in such a way where I'm sharing my journey. I'm sharing how God is ministering to me, encouraging me through loneliness, encouraging me in how to submit to Him first and foremost, before any husband. It's been my growth and journey. And in this, I've met many women, other people that have ministries around marriage. And a lot of people kind of ask me the question, how are you so content in your singleness? Because I'm yet to be married. It's still a desire I hold. And many people almost feel shame about believing in marriage, wanting to be married in the culture that we live in today, and how to navigate that. So my purpose, I believe, there is to kind of share my story and encourage other people in their walk and mentor them, coach them, help them with daily posts to keep coming back, keep trusting God, and to believe that all things will work in its good time.
Excellent. So if we take you back to December 2024, in the early part of December, you were sacked because the headmaster of this Catholic school in North London didn't like your social media posts, which are pro-marriage, gave the biblical viewpoint on kind of married relationships. Share with us what happened to you and why you were essentially instantly sacked because of your social media postings.
So it was February 2023, and I remember that date very well because it was my birthday. And I was brought into the headmaster's office. I didn't think that it would be the end of my role there. Like, at no point was there any kind of disciplinary or any kind of discussion around this being such a big issue. But I recall her saying to me that she thought I was global, so it was too much of a problem where making my accounts private wouldn't have helped. Even though there were public pages, there weren't a personal page. It was public in the sense of it was a ministry, it was a service that I was doing to other people. So she had said to me, we have girls here, because it was a girls' school. I was responsible for 180 girls in year 10 at the time. And she said that there'd been a complaint by a father who had said, I sent my daughter to a 21st century educational establishment, not an 18th century teaching facility. So they came against the quote unquote more traditional aspects of holiness, purity and godliness, even though it was a Catholic school. So I didn't quite understand what that meant. I was like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, it's a Catholic school. And she shared how the 18th century teaching on womanhood almost had this premise of, unless you're a wife, you're of no worth. She knew that was not correct. She knew that I carried myself with much worth, much value, and I wasn't a married person. So on her own premise, it was false. But she literally said the fact that when someone Googles your name, wife in the waiting comes up, that's an issue. And that was the reason they no longer wanted my services at the school, even though there was no evidence that I'd even spoken to any students about this, because I didn't. There was no evidence that I tried to evangelize to the students in this way, because I didn't. I was there to do my role. And then even at the tribunal, we find out that they have no issue with my conduct, with my character, that I was always a person of integrity. So again, I still don't fully understand what went on, but I do know that I'm not bowing down from this. I'm not gonna back off because I'm so convicted by this. And I think young girls particularly need a good role model. They need someone to look up to, and even just have in the discussion another way to do things.
No, absolutely. Thank you. You explained that very well. And Rebecca, share with us how Christian Legal Centre stepped in terms of Goshen's case and really kind of helped to prepare her legal case and her legal defence. Share with us the process that you go through to defend Goshen from unfair dismissal.
Yes, so Goshen got in touch with us and we were thrilled to meet her. I was so impressed by her. What a passionate young woman she is. And
she's sitting next to you now.
Yes. Isn't that great?
Absolutely.
And her ministry seemed to us to be excellent, especially Wife in the Waiting. That seemed to be something to me that nobody was really doing, speaking about purity before marriage and the importance of that. And Goshen wasn't actually sure what she wanted to do. I mean, she knew there was trouble. Obviously, she had lost her job. I don't think she came to us particularly thinking, I want help bringing a case against them. I don't think she was really feeling that. But she was asking for advice and she was looking for a way forward. And we said we felt that she'd been treated unfairly, that it seemed to be discriminatory, and that there would be a case in the employment tribunal for her. And I think then that you felt that answer from us was really the Lord guiding you, didn't you? And we thought if she wanted to, that we're very happy to use our resources to help her. And of course, there's the wider opportunity with Christian Concern then to put a story in the media. And we felt this was a story that really was very good to be told. So then once she decided she did want to do a case, then we needed to go through the formal process. So you contact ACAS first, and you have to speak to them to tell them there's a dispute, and they will try and work out whether there's a way forward with both parties to try and sort of negotiate. Very often that doesn't lead anywhere. Sometimes it does. In this instance, it didn't. The school didn't come up with anything. And so once that's done, you then draft the formal proceedings, that's a formal legal document, and start a case in the employment tribunal. So that's what we did. Yes, and then there's quite a lot of work involved in that, paperwork and taking witness statements, and then ultimately, because no offers were forthcoming, we went to trial, and so that was a week's trial, yes. Is it, in Watford Employment Tribunal? Yes, and unfortunately she didn't win the case. So we're at the stage now of wanting to appeal the case and go up to the next level to what's called the Employment Appeals Tribunal. So that's where we've got to.
Excellent. Thank you for
so
updating on that.
It's a privilege.
Wonderful.
Yes.
And Goshen, share with us how you felt. I know I asked you before the programme, but I think it's a good question to ask. I know that you have thousands of social media followers on your Instagram accounts and your other social media accounts. But share what it's like to see your story, your case where you were sacked because you posted pro-Christian content on your social media sites, and then finding out that you're reading this in the Daily Mail or the Daily Telegraph and it's mainstream news.
So I was devastated when it first happened. I just had to take myself away. I went to go spend some time with my family in Cyprus. I just needed to look after me in that moment. It was very unexpected. I was getting messages from students saying, "Miss, where are you?" And obviously just integrity, I wasn't going to tell them what was happening. So I kept quiet and just really looked after me. And in this time, I remember praying and just being like, God, I don't have capacity to take this case forward. I have a background in law. I could have, but I didn't have capacity to take it forward. So I prayed and I said, Lord, I'm willing to let this down, let this go, surrender it to you, count it as lessons learned. I know it was wrong because they were coming against you and what you've given me as opposed to me doing anything that was wrong. So I remember praying and I said, Lord, I'm laying this down, but if you want to fight this, I said, send me a team. I know it was a really bold prayer. And then I waited, and guess what? He sent me a team, the Christian Legal Centre. And that was through a conversation with someone that I didn't expect any information to come from. But I phoned them up and they were like, what happened to you? That's wrong. We're here to support you. Let's see what we can do. And the moment they said, we're willing to support you, I knew that was an answered prayer for me. I knew that God was in this. It weren't my fight, it was his fight. That's how I could hold my head up and say, what I do. And that's why I can still smile today and not be in that devastation because I know God's in this. In Exodus 14, he says, the enemy you see around you, you shall see no more. Hold your peace. So that was my role, to hold my peace. And the team in Christian Legal Centre and Christian Concern, they have been phenomenal in the journey. They have literally given me ease in this. Where there was any stress, they literally have helped me along the way, been so supportive in so many ways. So yeah, it's a fight, but it's not a fight like we said here. It's not a fight with swords. It's a fight of trust, belief, faithfulness, and just trusting that the Lord's word will prevail and good will come of this, whatever it looks like. So that I'm continuing in that. Good will come of this, whatever it looks like.
Amen, absolutely. And Rebecca, show us why it's so important within the Christian Legal Centre to take up Goshen's case and other cases where Christians are discriminated against the workplace for our Christian freedoms, knowing that we're coming against this ultra-liberal progressive ideology that is all-consuming and doesn't accept any other viewpoint other than its own. And how, as Christians, we need to stand against this and push back because we know that our Christian freedoms are under threat and we cower if we don't.
So there is a feeling of fear, I think. As you describe very accurately what is happening in society and to the way our thinking has been going and the way Christianity has been marginalised. And actually this morning only, and I was reading Psalm 62, and so this idea, the Lord is our strength and he's our fortress. So what we do primarily is to say, do not fear. This may be the moment that the Lord has given you. Maybe you're being called to be like Esther and to stand in this moment. And also this morning, I for some reason thinking about the story of Rosa Parks and what she did. She took her stand. She refused to get up on the bus. And that was then, what led to the civil rights movement. And it's a bit like that, isn't it? It's about one person being given the opportunity, and then, will you stand? Will you stand for what you believe? And if one person does it, then it's much easier for other people to do it. It's a bit like a domino effect. But if no one does it, then increasingly we will be rolled over and bulldozed by the culture. And the Lord is saying to us, we need to be brave. It tells us in Romans, doesn't it, that we mustn't fear. And so that's what we say, and then we give them the resources to be able to do it, and we say, we'll protect you, we'll do what needs to be done. If you're willing to do media, and if that's the right thing, then we will protect you in that. we'll arrange everything, you won't have to do anything you don't want to do. And so we tried to make it as easy as possible. And I'm glad Gozen said that she found it not easy, but there was ease in it. So we try and, I suppose, take the weight for them. And then we hope and pray that there will be a good outcome. But what Andrew always says is that standing is winning, in fact, because if you're willing to stand and you do actually stand, you've done what the Lord has asked you to do.
Absolutely.
You might not get vindication straight away. And often our clients don't at the first level. But then sometimes they do later on as we move up into courts where they look at the law a bit more and a little bit less sort of culturally influenced.
Absolutely. So it says in Deuteronomy that those who honour the Lord will honour. So no doubt the Lord is honouring you. And I think in some ways as well, what you've been through is horrific, but it's also a kind of a baptism of fire. To come out of that stronger and to come out of that with a stronger faith, a stronger belief in God, knowing that he will vindicate you, knowing that you'd surrendered this to him is an absolute inspiration. But share with us the challenge that you face as a Christian social media influencer to put biblical values and virtues at the forefront of what you do in a generation that's turned its back on our Christian heritage.
In all fairness, with social media, people connect with pages that they enjoy. So I don't really get much pushback at all on social media because people are connecting because they want to hear the encouragement, the inspiration. They're coming for the word of God. And I know there's many people that are of different faiths that also look at my content. So they're there to find value, and I'm a person to share value, and sometimes there will be pushback, but again, we respond with grace, we respond with love. So that's always going to be my response, with love. I'm here to be a vessel of God's use. I'm here to kind of show what Jesus would do, and I'm constantly in prayer and being humbled by this whole experience. But the fact that me speaking about Christian values and principles is so kind of like alarming, and people are intentionally misunderstanding it. Like, they're not coming with questions, they're coming with saying, this is what you mean. And I'm like, that's so far from the truth. Just looking at me, you know that's wrong. So it's kind of like just put, like you said, a fire in me to say this message needs to get out more. And it's almost like, is this what's bothering the culture today? Well, we need to share it more. And whoever has ears to hear, let them hear the message, the truth in it. One thing I know is, unless people stand, unless people actually are moved by their convictions, it concerns me in terms of like what's going to happen with the next generations. It's almost like there's a disconnect with them now with social media and so many people speaking to them. So I just am continuing in trying to be that positive influence and just showing them that they can be great and to believe in themselves and to consider doing things a different way.
Yeah. We're down to the last 5 minutes, but Rebecca, from your legal perspective, share with us your thoughts on the employment judge dismissing Goshen's case completely out of hand and the conclusions that she came to, because sadly that Goshen was compared to Andrew Tate in her kind of views, which is abhorrent. Yes, so using these kind of dirty tactics, as it were, in the case of law to taint Goshen's character, to present her saying, look, she has a bad negative influence, just look at what she's doing with Andrew Tate, is disgusting in terms of their defence.
Yeah, so we have to remember that this is first level tribunal, employment tribunal, and they are very culturally influenced. So that judge will have been hearing and seeing Goshen's story through the eyes of somebody who is swimming in this sort of cultural sea, I suppose. And these ideas are countercultural. The idea that keeping yourself sexually pure for marriage is not something that really is talked about at all. And I think it was just, they're not views that they think are good or acceptable even. Nevertheless, it's the case, of course, that we have freedom of religion and that we can manifest our belief. We should be able to manifest our beliefs freely. But the judge has to make a decision in an unfair dismissal case in whether what happened was in the realms of the reasonable response of the employer, in this instance the head. So was it within the realms of the reasonable response that goes and be dismissed for this? And the judge thought that it was. And so that just shows us, I think, really what the chasm that there is now, really between what we believe about living by the Maker's instructions and what people in culture believe. And you were saying it was just one dad, I think, wasn't it? One dad made a complaint. And they're really in danger of allowing the sort of heckler's veto. You know, one person doesn't like it, oh my goodness, we'll have to react, we'll have to... Well, the right thing to do would have just been to have said, OK, so you don't agree with that, but that's Gozen's private views, we can't interfere with those. She's expressing them privately, I mean, not privately, but privately as in away from school. She wasn't saying anything at school, she was doing it on her private social media. So, yes, this is what we're facing. But as I say, as we go up the courts, and we hope when we go to the Employment Appeals Tribunal, we've got more chance of a sort of better analysis of the law going on, because we do believe the law is actually on our side. And that's what gives us hope.
Absolutely.
So that ultimately she will be vindicated.
Absolutely. And Gozen, for our viewers, do you want to give a message to any young people watching how they can learn from your experience of standing up against such opposition and yet standing strong in your faith? 20 seconds.
Have a personal relationship with God. Know who you were created to be. You were created on purpose, with purpose, for a purpose. You were created with love to love. So know who you are, so that you can then stand up to the truth, because there's going to be lies around us, there's going to be distractions, but as long as we stand where we are, God's going to be on our side.
Excellent. So Rebecca and Goshen, thank you so much for being my special guests on Politics Today. And I want to thank you for watching this programme today. I think we can learn so much from Goshen's experience of standing up for her faith under incredible fire and coming out with a stronger faith in Jesus Christ and willing to stand against this culture that's coming against us. So thank you for watching this week's edition of Politics Today.